What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing the men in white. I know you guys at first glance might be thinking there's some kind of typo in the title of this video, but I assure you that is not the case. I had to do a double take when I first came across the initial information of this phenomenon too, because we are, of course, so used to hearing about the men in black by now. It's the same with black-eyed kids and white-eyed kids, and while I was able to do that one video, just one, on white-eyed kids and some encounters with them, I've yet to find anything else that's credible about them at all, though it hasn't stopped me from continuing to look. I'm about to give you guys everything I have on this phenomenon so far, but know that I will keep searching and digging and researching until I find more, and then I'm able to bring you that. Let's review for just a moment the men in black. They are the mysterious gentlemen, all dressed in black, but who aren't very gentlemanly. They and their female counterparts roam around at the fringes of our imaginations and even of our dreams sometimes, and absolutely terrify most of us who come across them. They tend to go after and harass, possibly even threaten people who have either seen UFOs, abductees, and/or contactees. Well, now it seems a similar phenomenon is coming into the forefront of our minds, imaginations, and lives, and that's the phenomenon of the men in white. As far as I can tell, there really isn't much of, if any, connection between the two types of men, and the following encounters are admittedly much rarer as of when I'm writing and will be filming this, but also they seem a lot harder for me and others to categorize as well. There is a very well-known sense of malevolence and deeply ingrained fear that seems to come just from looking at or being in the general vicinity of the MIB that is only sometimes evident in their white-clad counterparts. They seem just as sinister, if not more so, in some cases. So, iron out your finest white clothes and see if you can blend in, or at least keep up with, these shadowy and strange men in white. Let's jump right in. Our first encounter comes from a young man who had just been dropped off at school by his mother like he had been every other school day on any other normal day. However, he claims that as he exited the vehicle, he saw something strange across the street that made him stop there dead in his tracks. There was a shady and sinister looking man standing right there. He explained, quote, "I saw a man in a nice white suit wearing a white fedora standing outside my school. His back was to me at first, but as my mom stopped the car, he turned around. His face looked like it was made of cracked porcelain, and his eyes were white except for the pitch black dot of the pupil in the middle. He gave off the most horrible vibes ever. He pointed at me, tipped his hat, and grinned to reveal a nice set of fangs. He said, 'You.' Then he disappeared." End quote. Our witness said it seemed as though no one else was paying attention to this weird-looking stranger, including his mother, and because of this and the fact it seemed like no one had even seen him there at all besides our witness, he decided not to mention it and go on about his day. However, he would see the man again later on in the day, which was scary, but also sort of a relief to him because he had been questioning his own sanity ever since he had seen the man in the morning. However, when he was with some friends by the school's baseball fields, both he and the friend he was with saw him. So, despite being really scared and creeped out, at least he knew he wasn't losing his mind. This time, the man just stood there staring intently at our witness and his friend, but then he vanished just as quickly as he seemed to have appeared. This was very strange to say the least, but the witness and his friend just tried to forget all about it. A few nights later, though, there would be something very troubling that would happen that would make all of this very hard to forget about. He said, quote, "I ignored the man in the white suit, but I soon learned that I shouldn't have ever ignored him. One night at around 3 in the morning, I had gotten up to use the restroom and was going back to bed when my closet door opened and the man in the white suit came out with a scruffier looking man. They pulled me from my bed and began to do something to me. I fell into a sort of limbo state where I couldn't speak or see, but I could hear and feel. The scruffy man said that he wasn't sure if I would survive this. My chest felt like it was on fire and I felt someone reaching around inside of me. Then it stopped and they both disappeared. When I fully came to, I was laying on the floor across my room and my chest was bright red and I had scratches on my chest and shoulders. My closet door was also open and I never leave it open because an open closet at night terrifies me. The same thing happened a few weeks later to my friend who saw the men in the white suits. To this day, I'm still not sure what they did. I do know that I'm a lot more in touch with the supernatural than I ever was before. I wish I could remember his name, and I wish I knew what they did." End quote. By his name, I think he is either talking about the entities, which he doesn't say that either one of them said or stated or called the other one by a name, but I think he could possibly have meant his friend who he alleges this also happened to. So guys, I went through a series of thoughts throughout this encounter. When I read the first part about him seeing the figure or man outside of the school, I was skeptical. Not because I don't want to believe wholeheartedly that there are vampires lurking around out there. I mean, if you know me by now, you should definitely know that, especially the well-dressed kind like we see on TV, but because of the way he described it. However, going forward with the rest of what he had to say, I came to the conclusion that regardless of what it is, there's definitely something supernatural going on here. I immediately thought of the energetic vampirism we are constantly discussing here on this channel, because the first sighting seemed to be for no other reason than to either scare the young man, or maybe the entity or whatever it was simply doing something else there at the school that day and thought no one could see him. So when he realized he might have been spotted, decided to see for sure. I'm sure, I don't know, but I have been thinking about this and trying to wrap my head around it, figure it out at length. I mean, I've been thinking about it, but haven't come up with anything concrete, obviously. As far as the third alleged encounter, the night when the two men in white came into his bedroom from his closet, if what the man claims is true, though, in that he has been much more supernaturally open and possibly spiritually inclined since that event, I would have to guess that maybe these two men in white that came out of his closet were the cause. But why would they go in and open him up intentionally, even more so if my initial assumption was true in that they don't want to and aren't used to being seen? Then why would they do something like open him up even more to such sightings and possibly even more knowledge? One more guess is that perhaps they realized he was special in some way, and maybe where they're from, having fangs and being creepy isn't creepy at all or sinister, and maybe they realized he was special and are going to either use him for something, most likely without his knowledge, either in the future or from that night on. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, please. Our next witness, who I found on Reddit, claims to have had several encounters with beings he calls men in white who seem to fit the usual description, but who he feels are types of guardian angels of sorts. He said that he and his son were at an apple festival near their home, and while they were about to park on one of the dirt roads to gain access to the festival, this is what he says happened. Quote, "Due to the festival's popularity, their parking lot was filled and people had started parking along the side of the road outside of the farm. I had to park at the bottom of a long hill on a patch of dirt next to a ditch so that my car couldn't block the road. By the time we were gone, there were no longer any new cars parking, several of the cars around me were gone, and no one was near the bottom of the hill where I was parked. When I tried to get out of the spot, my tires just kept flipping up loose rocks and couldn't gain any traction. I kept trying to leave, but my car wouldn't move. I was about to get out, thinking that maybe I should trek back up to the farm to ask for help, when a huge white SUV pulled up beside me. Now, mind you, I don't know where this guy came from because I kept checking my mirror when I was trying to get out of my spot and had a clear view up the hill for any potential cars coming and would have seen a large white vehicle coming. Out of this car came this big guy with a white shirt, white baseball cap, and white shorts, and he called out, 'Do you need some help?' and proceeded to go to the back of my car and gives it a huge push, and we basically sailed out of our rut and right out onto the road. I called out thank you and waved, and he waved back, and I kept driving on, and he followed me, but when I turned at a bend, I lost sight of him." End quote. So, before we get into his next encounter, let's break this one down a little bit. I don't see this being related to our usual Men in Black phenomenon, and I wouldn't classify this as MIW or Men in White either, although it could be an encounter with a guardian angel or some sort of good Samaritan who just likes the color white. It brings to mind the question as to whether or not these entities drive white SUVs instead of the sleek, black, and usually old-fashioned vehicles their black-clad counterparts are known to roll around in. The next time this witness claims to have encountered these so-called guardian men in white entities, he said of it all, quote, "The next story took place nearly 20 years ago while I was driving home from college. It was a 4-hour drive, and while I was still on the highway, a dump truck entered the highway and got right in front of me. I kept my distance and was looking for an opportunity to switch lanes when the dump truck's tarp flew off and covered my windshield completely. But instead of freaking out, a calm just came over me, and a voice right in the car, even though I was alone, said, "Speed up and leave the steering wheel as it is." I followed the directions even though I thought I would crash any second. In the speed I was going, I managed to whip the tarp from my windshield and it flew off the highway into the trees. When I looked, the dump truck was far away, but I was flanked by two little white cars, kind of like Toyota Corollas, and I felt really safe between the two of them. I thought at the time this was funny because I was also driving a white Toyota Corolla, and I thought, ha, we must be a sight driving on the highway like a white car caravan. At the next exit, both the car in front and the car in back exited, and I continued driving home, end quote. Again, these waters are a bit too muddy for me, and I would classify these so-called encounters as possible, okay, possible guardian angel encounters, but for lack of more information on or run-ins with the MIW we are looking for today, meaning the ones sort of the same as their usual MIB counterparts, I would have left these ones for another video altogether. But I was trying to show that there are all different types of men in white phenomenon, just like not all men in black encounters are the sinister kind. You know, you could meet a well-dressed man in a black suit who's just not a good person, right? Doesn't have to be the paranormal type that we're always trying to kind of put together in our minds. Does that make sense? What I was basically trying to say is, if I had had more encounters of the sinister kind that kind of, I guess, fit my agenda at trying to compare them to the men in black, I would have left the guardian angel ones out. From the site True Ghost Tales comes another odd and hopelessly unclassifiable account of an alleged men in white encounter. Our witness was walking to work during the daytime and said of what happened next, quote, "To get to my work, I have to walk past a fire station. As I walked past, in the corner of my eye, I saw a man standing in the middle of the fire station grounds. He was wearing a white suit and he had white hair. It made me jump a little because he was just standing there staring at me, but as I quickly looked up, there was no one there. I didn't stop until I got into work, but I did look back a few times to make sure no one was behind me. I didn't get a bad vibe from him, so I'm not too worried about it. Also, opposite the fire station, there's an elderly people's homes, so I thought perhaps he might have been looking at that instead of me, and I just happened to catch sight of him," end quote. So, first of all, this, I don't know if it's just the way it was worded, but it made me skeptical because it said that he saw the man staring at him, right? Or at least staring in his general direction, general vicinity of him. But then it says, when I looked up, he was gone. How do you look at someone staring at you and then look up and they're gone? That would require you looking down first. I don't know. Maybe I'm just reading too much into it. I wonder if the reason this witness didn't get a bad vibe is because either the man in white in this case didn't know he had been seen, or because the man in white wasn't there for him and possibly was there for someone in the old folks' home across the street from where he was. Maybe the man in white disappeared because he had been seen by our witness. I guess we'll never know, but as reports come in more and more, I'm starting to think that maybe these men in white aren't anything at all related to their black-clad counterparts. I don't know why, guys. It's like super duper disappointing to me. I'm pretty disappointed at this. Other people may think that perhaps this guy was just reading too much into a random and perfectly normal encounter, but I mean, why would he associate it with this phenomenon at all? I always like to imagine that there's a reason when someone puts two and two together, especially in the paranormal community. The reason I'm disappointed is because when I first heard about this phenomenon, I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be, more of these sinister men. And I guess I just find that more interesting personally. But again, it's not going to stop me from bringing you the facts as I know them. Our next encounter comes from someone who is actually recounting an experience his mother had. So in essence, his mother is the actual witness and he's just telling the story that she told him. He said his mom was running late one day for an appointment and got stuck at a red light. She was really frustrated by this because she was already so late as it was. As she stood there on the corner waiting for the light to change so she could cross the street and be on her way, she saw a very well-dressed man standing across the street from where she was, and his impeccable way of dressing is what made him stand out so much and made him so noticeable. He was wearing a neatly pressed white suit, his shoes looked like they had just been cleaned or shined, and he even had on a white top hat. The odd part, though, is that there were other people walking on the street who were passing by this man, and it was almost like nobody else could see him. Nobody else noticed him. They weren't walking through him or anything like that, but it's like they were absent-mindedly walking around him without even acknowledging his presence. The witness's son said of what his mother described to him, quote, "I live in a city where things like this are not common. People would usually stare or take pictures if you wore something like that, but nobody noticed the man except for my mom. The man noticed my mom looking at him and went up to my mom and said with a smile, 'You're very lucky.' My mom found it quite strange, but she was in such a hurry she couldn't really process anything except for the fact that she was late for a meeting. So my mom just gave a quick nod. At the same time, the light turned green and my mom started to cross the road, but couldn't stop thinking about how peculiar the whole thing about the man was, so she turned back to look, but the man was now gone. There was no way the man could have just disappeared because there were no corners or alleyways to hide in. Plus, he stood out so much in the crowd that you can notice him from far away," end quote. I feel like there should be more to this story, like what happened either before or after the alleged encounter that could possibly be the reasoning for the man in white to say the woman was lucky. Was it a compliment, an observation? Maybe even it could have been some sort of sinister threat, but with no further information, frustratingly, but as usual, we'll never know what the intention was behind what was said to her. Our next encounter comes from Reddit, and the witness said he was out walking with his friends one night and remembers that the moon above them was very bright and full. As he sat down on a bench in the park to admire the moon and just take in the gorgeous night, his friends decided they would go to a nearby supermarket for whatever reason, and he was left there alone on that park bench. He said after a little while he decided to go and find his friends and got up, heading to the grocery store, but as he hurriedly turned a corner, something happened. This is what he said of the encounter. Quote, "As I turned the corner, I immediately stopped dead in my tracks to see a tall African-American man who was dressed entirely in white staring me dead in the eyes. The thing that stuck with me was not only what he said next, nor even his height, which had to be at least 6'4", but it was the way his eyes were fixed on mine. You see, before I turned the corner, I was looking at the exact spot where my field of vision expanded to reveal his eyes. It explicitly felt as though he had been looking directly at me through the stone walls. I stopped and, with him looking at me, he said these exact words, 'You're bright, you're blessed.' I just kind of nodded and walked around him to the store. But before I went in, I reflected on the way he seemed to have been looking at my eyes even before I saw him. I think the reason I consider this paranormal is a combination of the fact that I've never forgotten the memory, particularly the peculiar staring and his words, then subsequent disappearance," end quote. Now, of course, it could have been this was just some guy who was wearing really clean white clothes, who liked to stand around corners preemptively blessing people and then running the full length of a city block to hide in case they turned around or did a double take. I find this incredibly interesting for a few reasons, guys. First of all, it's extremely rare to encounter a man in black who isn't oddly pale, white, sometimes grossly so. Secondly, the height of the man. While 6'4" isn't gigantic, depending on your own height, it is a bit taller than normal. I was also intrigued by what the man allegedly said to our witness, because this is another, just like the previous one, where the woman was told she was lucky, this guy was told he was bright and blessed. I was wondering if this could possibly be a comment about the witness's inner light, and maybe it was the same for the woman in the previous encounter, in that if a person has a certain type or level of brightness, they can't be touched or are protected from whatever these entities are. This is all, of course, just my own speculation, guys, but I feel like there's some sort of connection and an innuendo here that my mind can almost touch, but not quite. Also, this witness brings up a very valid point in my opinion. Why are there such vivid memories of these seemingly random events? I mean, remembering something creepy or weird that happened to us for a little while is understandable, but for years and years after the fact, and to remember in such great detail, I don't know, it's just strange to me. Sometimes the men in black don't seem as though they are paranormal or, as I wholly believe, they are extraterrestrial either, and it's only by the primal feelings that seem to emerge in us that we encounter them, usually fear or dread, but a lot of the time, just that something is somehow off, that we can't quite put our fingers on, that makes the encounter seemingly anything of value and or substance. It's like we just kind of connect with the fact that there's something wrong or off, right? There are some reports that I come across of encounters with men in white that seem to allude to them being more of a paranormal presence than that of an extraterrestrial one. This next one comes from Your Ghost Stories and happened in the United States in Virginia. This is another one where the person recounting the events is retelling an encounter that their mom had originally told them. Our witness said, quote, sometime in the middle of the night, she woke up with a feeling of being watched. When she looked at the door, there was a tall man with a long beard at the door looking at her. Problems about that. 1, she had never seen him before. 2, besides my parents and Elle being there, no one else should have been there. 3, even if someone had come in the house and upstairs, my parents would have heard them since their room was right near the stairs. Anyway, the man had on a white suit and was looking at her like, what in the world are you doing in my house, lady? She was so scared. There had recently been a murder down the road and she wondered if the killer was in the house. She tried to get her slipper to bang it on the floor to get my dad up there. No one heard the slipper, but finally she was able to scream for my dad. Before he could get there, the man had disappeared. A few months later, my dad was cleaning a squirrel out of a room in the house where the owners stored their belongings when he came across a picture of a tall man with a beard in a white suit. He showed it to Elle and she said she did not believe in ghosts, but that looked like the man she saw that night. It turned out that the man was a former owner of the house. He didn't die in the house. He could have been buried in the family cemetery in front of the house, but we don't know, end quote. First of all, I don't think anyone's going to hear you banging a slipper like this. A slipper. Unless it was an indoor-outdoor slipper. I mean, I don't know. As you can see, guys, I'm not so sure about this one, to be honest. And while you all know how I feel about completely disregarding anyone's encounters, I was fully on board until the last bit about the cemetery and the alleged killer in the neighborhood. Who knows, though, because stranger things, as we know, have and do happen. After going through these few encounters, I chose these ones out of a list of ones I had here, and also I tried to switch it up because it seems as though there could be several different things going on here. I believe there are ghosts who appear and who mostly don't know they're dead and end up looking very confused at the quote-unquote people in their house, just as the actual living person in the home is confused by the presence of the ghost and or spirit itself. There are more encounters. I just have to keep on digging because I believe that while one of these encounters, if it's to be believed, was a ghost and nothing more, I believe another one was just someone possibly reading too much into someone being oddly dressed and just seeming to stand there randomly across the street from an old folks home. There are a couple of few here though, guys, that have definitely piqued my interest about this phenomenon, and I wonder if light workers, whether a person realizes that's what they are or not, are perhaps either untouchable due to some laws that we have no idea about, or maybe that they don't taste the same, whether the entity or whatever it is feeding on their fear or their blood, their energy, something else, I'm sure, I don't know. Let me know what you all think in the comments below, guys. As always, that's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, enjoyed spending this time with me, and just want to see me smile. Spread the love by sharing this video, and please subscribe if you haven't already. So when I release this, it should be Monday, November 28th, 2022, and this is, at least I'm hoping, going to be my last pre-recorded video before I start the new format, which will be, instead of uploading videos like this to premiere twice a week, I am going to start bringing topics to discuss with you all twice a week, probably from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, and then maybe if it works out better, we'll also have some sort of morning show every other Sunday or something like that. For instance, if this were the topic, Men in White, I would open up the live stream, and Steven will most likely be there hosting with me most of the time. We'll do it twice a week, probably still Mondays and Thursdays. So if you're watching this on Monday, and I will let you guys know for sure Wednesday at Live Intuitive Oracle, but then Thursday, okay, which I think is December 1st, should be the first night that we will have this kind of open discussion topic format, even though it won't be Thursday, December 1st, because that's when my daughter's having her birthday party. But in general, it should be Mondays and Thursdays from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time, barring anything crazy happening that makes me have to change those times. So if this were the topic, I would open up the show, say hi to everybody, and bring in the topic of Men in White, read you guys some encounters, whatever, and then discuss it with you all in a live show format. It saves me tons of time. It gives me more interaction with you guys. We have such a beautiful, incredible community in the Wednesday night stream that I want some more of that, right? It really makes my whole night go so much better, my whole week, and I don't know. I feel like live content format is the way to go right now for me and for the direction my channel is moving into. Live Intuitive Oracle will stay on Wednesday nights, But MoonBearOracle, I know a lot of you guys did me the huge favor, went over there and subscribed, and then I didn't do anything with it. It was just for lack of time. But now that I have the time, I'm going to be doing monthly and or anytime readings, either starting for December 2022 or more than likely for the new year 2023. Oracle readings for each sign, just me and the cards, guys, no comments, but there will be information on how to get personals and all that good stuff in the description box. You guys can always email me, GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com, if you want a personal intuitive oracle reading, to send me your encounters with the supernatural, paranormal, extraterrestrial, otherworldly, whatever is going on that you want to talk to me about, whether you want it to be public or if you just want to speak in private. There's more information on personal intuitive oracle readings now in the description box. I did start putting that in there. So join us Wednesday nights, every Wednesday from 7:15-ish, 7:25-ish p.m. Eastern Time to 11:30-ish p.m. Eastern Time for live intuitive oracle. It's myself, Ghost Dragon ZW, right here on this channel. And until MoonBearOracle is monetized, which is probably going to take a while, it's going to stay on this channel. So same bat time, same bat channel, come on in. And if you're wondering what live intuitive oracle is about, or if you're a regular over there, just come on in and get a 1-card weekly reading from me. I do it for donation, but if you don't have a donation, you know, just come on in and get one. It doesn't matter. I want to get you guys excited and interested in intuitive oracle and everything that I'm trying to do on that front. I am hoping to be able to start taking Christmas orders for the spiritual helper boxes, manifestation intention sprays, crystal packs, etc., and be able to put the website out. I mean, I had to shut everything down because of some personal things going on, but I'm working on all of it, guys, actively. So hopefully I'll have some news about that. You guys can put in your Christmas orders. If you would like to make a donation to the channel, in the description box, you will find links to PayPal, Patreon, and Cash App, okay? If you donate $20 a month or more through Patreon, I will automatically give you a personal intuitive oracle reading from me to you as a thank you every single month. If you would like to purchase my books, Book 1, Missing the Faith Theory, there's the camera, by Gemma Jade, the Kindle and paperback version, links are in the description box. You can find those on Amazon. My second book, Encounters with Evil, 101 Terrifying and True Stories. And I designed these covers, guys, or actually I conceptualized them. The illustrator actually put them together, right? And my newest book, which only came out less than 2 weeks ago, Shadow Entities, Sleep Paralysis, and Beyond. Again, links in the description box to the Kindle and paperback versions on Amazon. But if you would like autographed copies of one or all of these, please hit me up. If you buy 2, I'll give you like a discount. If you buy 3, even more of a discount with autographs on them. But you have to hit me up, GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com, before making the purchase, all right? Guys, please go on over to MoonBearOracle if you're interested in monthly, weekly, personal oracle, all that kind of stuff. If you're interested in tarot and the things I'm doing, spirituality, all of the healing work I'm trying to do, what I'm going to be discussing, you know, the collective, and just a lot of stuff I talk about outside of this channel, like when I do interviews and stuff, over on that channel, as well as doing the oracle. There will be no comments because I just don't want to deal, like, if most non-believers will just glaze past the channel, but I don't want to deal with the bullying and all that stuff. And like I said, you guys can always email me. Comments are going to stay on this channel. Obviously, we're going to be doing the live format, and I really, really am excited about it. So be kind to each other, guys. It doesn't cost anything. Be kind to yourselves, but never accept anything less than others being kind to you. If nobody told you today, you are capable, you are amazing, you're beautiful, you're worth it, okay? And I believe in you. Always go in grace, smile at a stranger, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.